Live.
Are we?
We are.
So it doesn't say it on here quite yet. Let me go to the page.
It's usually a little back though, so.
When does it start? When does this, when do I have
I
to
guess
stop?
technically it just started.
No, I mean our challenge. So see, it just says this video is live now. See, I don't even know how people find us. This is kind of weak.
Well, usually because how it works when I see it is it'll be a
Okay, it's
notification
working.
of
Okay, it's up. Oh, because there's like a 20-second lag.
yeah.
Okay, okay,
So
okay, okay.
what are the words just to confirm this not counting?
So do we want to just start from the beginning and tell them the rules of everything?
Well, we're only doing the first one, right? So
I need to
bro
work
for
on my
me, bruh for
posture.
you. That's my posture is terrible in these videos. But all right, so yeah,
My
so
triceps are looking kind of good though.
we're going to for this and for the foreseeable future or for just the show, we're going to do a challenge just to get better in our communication, the way we speak. And so a huge thing for me is saying the word bro, huge word for you, and bruh. So I'm gonna both those words will count for me. Yours are gonna be just bruh, right? For now. And then we'll move into like.
I think it
like
should,
will be next
yeah.
because that's gonna get crazy. So we'll start there after now. Anytime you say those words, we're going to keep a tally. So I don't know how we best do that because it would be easier if we just had money and put it into a jar. But we don't. So
You know what I have a bunch of?
we need to keep a tally. There's a pen and a pad there if we
Oh, there
want
we
to
go.
just tally it.
And then once our producer gets in, this is going to be hard. All right, so rules of the game. Like you just discussed, $1 each phrase. And then at the end, do we both just split it?
Yeah.
That seems fair.
And no. You do yours. I'll do mine.
No, we'll split it.
No. Sorry, I definitely didn't catch what you're saying. No, because when we get to the word like,
all bets are off.
All bets are, and really, it might be me, but still,
so
I'd rather just pay for mine.
And my name, so Julian.
Yeah.
Richard.
If we just don't talk the whole time, then.
So do two people get to get?
No,
so
it could be a collective money, a collective pot, but we pay separately into that collective pot.
And if anyone catches us and we don't, because I'll say it and not even notice. I might have already said it.
I don't think we've said it since we've been talking about it. Anyway, so,
and I've listened to our last week's video. My laugh is obnoxious.
That's very quintessential to who Julian is. So if this is new knowledge to you, then
I think
that's kind of your
has to be because
we'll try.
It hits the walls, comes back, and not only is my laugh loud, but then there's reverb, so it's twice as bad. And I was like, since I get to say it, I was like, this is irritating. So if everyone who sticks through it for an hour and a half once or twice a week, you guys deserve something. And hopefully it'll be a couple dollars. This is what I was trying to say last week and you kept cutting me off, and that's okay. I'm going to try my best to give these people no money. I want that to go on the record. This is not
absolutely.
This is not like I wanted to give money away. This is my excuse. I do not want to give money away, and I'm using that to motivate myself to be better.
We might have talked about this on one of the shows, but have you ever watched the video where Chris Paul has Michael Jordan at like a CP3 camp, basketball camp? He's like, all right, how about you shoot? You have to shoot from these, whatever it was, 6 spots. You have to shoot from these 6 spots. If you miss 3 shots, you have to buy all the kids, and he didn't miss 1 shot. It's going to be more like that. So, or I'm hoping. We'll see. So.
We have a history of doing stuff like this where, remember there was a one, if I don't lose 10 pounds this month, I'm going to give you $100 or whatever.
Yeah.
So we have a history of putting money on stuff to make sure we're honest.
For sure.
But I have no intention to, if I lose, I'll give you the 100. But it's not a give money
Giving
to
away
money
challenge. Is the dumbest thing too. But it always feels good because anytime I've given you money so far, it's always me doing some really dumb stuff. So it's like almost like satisfying to give it to you. So we will see.
I did one with Alex, and it was intermittent fasting. If I broke the fast, I had to give him $20. And one day I was craving Taco Bell breakfast, which ends at 11.
So you bought $23 worth of
And I
tires.
just went in and I just was like, no, it's not worth it. Just drove home because now that's a $23 burrito, and you know I'm not doing nothing that stupid, so it works. So just so you know, there's nothing on there yet. At the end, we'll ask a question. What do you think? Pick a number between 1 and 100.
Yeah, we could do that.
Or we could come up with a trivia question, but if two people get it right, we don't know what to do.
First one to get it right.
First one to respond, first in the comments. By the way, my hair on camera,
Looking really good. All right, yeah, let's start. All right, now
All right.
that we know what we're doing, if we never talk about any subjects, it'll be harder. So, let's get ready
Don't
for
do
that.
it.
Let's get ready for that. I feel well, and that's for me what the word I use or the two words that I'm taking out of mine. They're more an excitement. So when you say something that gets me excited or makes me remember something, that's my oh my god type of phrase. So I need to change that. And that's what the problem with even those words are. Those didn't used to be the words. It was words that I substituted. So I need to stop substituting one or two words there. Like there was a time where I used the N word,
Mm-hmm.
all the time as my like
You.
ending word, in my and not the hard way, but the conversational friendly way. And but I didn't want to say it anymore. So that's when it became into those words. And now I say those too many times. So I just either need to get rid of those entirely and figure out a way to kick those from my vocabulary because I don't need to have an exclaimer. I could say Julian instead of those or whatever it is.
It would just be odd though, because the word that must not be named, it's like the F word in the right circumstance.
Have you ever watched that video? There's a guy. I need to stop saying those too. I need to start getting information of names of people so I could cite my sources better because I do say a lot of cool things that people do come up with, but I never can tell you who it was. But there's a video of this guy. He seems to be Indian, older gentleman,
I have
and
seen
he's
it.
talking.
I have seen it.
He like broke down how that word,
I
the
think
F
you
word,
sent
is
it to me.
like one of the best words in the English language.
It fits everything.
Every single thing. But in that same case, outside of that, these words and how we use them do fit in for a lot. But yeah, let's get into
Did
the
you do your
comments
homework?
a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Touch on those.
Oh yeah, and then I probably didn't do my
Let's see.
homework because I remember you giving homework, but I don't remember what it was.
You're the worst student in class.
Michael's here. I can't read all his comments because I feel like he purposely put that word in there. Josh, what's up? Oh yeah, that makes sense too. He said the delays for streaming and stream snipers and stuff, which makes sense.
Look at mine.
Because that would be
I don't
annoying.
even have. I only have.
Jesus, what's up? He said he's Batman. The NBA draft. Julian is not a huge fan of sports in general or professional sports, so he knows nothing about that. But I'll talk of my opinion about it. Probably my least knowledgeable draft in recent memory. Obviously, no, like March Madness is where you learn about most basketball players, unfortunately, especially because a lot of them are young. They're 1 year players. So if you didn't play, they played about half their year, if that, and they didn't play in the most highlighted part of college basketball. So the NBA draft was, I don't know, it just didn't seem to be that good to me. I didn't personally know a lot of the guys that were picked up. Made it a little easier that the Lakers didn't have a pick, so I really didn't pay attention to it.
They traded them off.
Traded them away, or traded our one away.
Would you say that that's where the management of the team, that's their most important job?
Is drafting?
Yeah, like
managing
the trades,
using
those trades to garner and deciding, we won't even need a draft next year, because if you blow that, I'm afraid to say any B word. If you blow that, just in case it slips out, if the Lakers traded away a draft pick and their team was stagnant or someone majorly got injured or retired and they don't have one, that falls all on the manager, right? So maybe
absolutely,
it's not their only
especially
job,
when you do it. For instance, the Clippers They just did a thing where they've traded now about 4 or 5 years of their first round draft picks. So especially when you normally trade with a team, you can't trade back to back years. So you have to trade. If you make a trade to one team, it has to be 2021 pick, 2023 pick, that type of thing. And so some of them do that where it's way too far in advance to know will you need it or not. In some cases, like the Lakers, we traded away our 28th pick for a player who's better than someone you would get at 28th, almost guaranteed. And even if he's not, he's someone who's going to produce this year better for sure. So it is a little bit of deciding what's more important for you. They're talking about that right now. The Thunder, the OKC Thunder, own a lot of picks right now.
I was going to say,
they're
what's
just
the most
hoarding
anyone's
them.
ever gotten?
I don't know that, but it has to be close to them. They own
all first round.
They own 18 first round picks in the next 6 years. So on average, they have three first round picks in the next 6 years. And they're just getting more and more. And that's not even with some things that's rumored right now where they might get more. They're going crazy.
It's I mean, can you trade traded picks?
Yeah, you can. Absolutely.
So this guy thinks he's a Pokemon master. He's just collecting. Does he even have plans for these picks?
No one knows.
And
then last year they were rebuilding, and then Chris Paul went there and they killed. So then they're like, we're rebuilding, trying to like get our team to even keep doing well. And then they succeeded. So it was weird. But that's how some teams work, is in their rebuild, they'll do it. But it's rare, I feel like, that they end up using all of those picks. Most of the time, it's exactly what you said. They trade those away. And so you'll see this is so-and-so's trade from Toronto via Utah via Indiana. And so that does happen. And some of them are more coveted than others because there's also protections. So you can say this is a top 10 protected. So if we get the lottery ball that's in the top 10, we're keeping our pick. But if it's anything out of that, you get to keep it. So there's some that's only top 3. So it's more coveted because they might get the 4th or 5th pick and you get to swap. So
I wonder what level they get into it, because I would like to follow an NBA manager for a day, because there's probably little things in there that they're using to manipulate other teams, like kind of like Moneyball. This on, I'm not in the sports, so I'll take this and they'll make this team. I'm gonna call him, pretend I want this. So when they call him, and it's just chess game.
And now they have people they work with. I mean, you talk about this as an issue all the time. They have people they work with in the media where they're posting, this is a backdoor trade that might happen. So this team comes and offers more. And that was never a trade that was, they talked, but it was never a trade that was close to happening. And that happens too. So it gets kind of crazy.
Some stock market stuff a little bit.
But then you have to take on bigger contracts too. So that's a huge part. You'll see players get traded and teams giving up picks where they gave up a really, really good player and picks. So you think, why? Why would you do that? And then you look at the guy's contract. So this team gave up picks so that you would also take this contract. Even though he is good, his contract's not worth what he's worth. So yeah, it's crazy. It does get interesting and it changes all the time. So I can't keep up with it most times. That's a new rule they have too. So if it's a 3-team trade, all teams have to touch. So I can't trade you a bunch of players without touching the second team too. So it gets crazy. But sports.
Just so Mike knows, it's not champagne today. It's a little red wine in there, which has the same effect. It's not quite as the champagne does something special.
They're trying to get that money.
They're trying to get money, and I want to give them a couple. I want to keep it exciting. I don't want to blow them out of. I don't want to skunk them.
So, did you write any notes? I did write some notes I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, other than the homework, I was just going to freestyle.
Oh yeah, sorry, homework.
No, we'll do it later.
Right. Well, mine are just a few things we worried about as kids that have no impact on our lives at all. Just 3 things that I wrote down: hot lava, quicksand, and the Bermuda Triangle. 3 things I panicked about as a kid.
I can blame at least one of those on Scooby-Doo.
I even wrote falling anvils and pianos. Like you wouldn't notice that. Have you ever been around a crane? They're super noticeable. But
sorry, I was just texting RG that the gate's unlocked. So we may even have 2 producers today.
Yeah, that would
my
be
brother,
awesome.
the better the brother that got all the good qualities is going to be here today, and then me. So there's that, and then RG as well.
What did I? Be weird when Jules is crossed out and it's Herb. Just with Jules.
I know the funnier, more creative brother is going to be here to steal my light, like he always does. But
he doesn't have that laugh though, man.
Let me think. So things.
Michaela said, "Is it boxed?"
She already knows it is. Franzia, and I mixed 2 flavors too because I don't care.
I knew Michael was going to do that too. He counts your 2 brothers.
I don't know if we put that in the small print at all.
I'm not counting those at all. I'm not talking about even when we said when we discussed last week when we start doing we're going to
There's
use
one
it.
Qualifying. Things that when I was a kid, what did I stress about?
They were definitely cartoon reasons why you thought quicksand was an everyday thing people dealt with.
I mean, a different version of that same take was like, obviously a little different, but same idea. I really thought to attract a girl, you had to be buff. And I blame that on Dragon Ball Z. I feel like my whole life was, if I don't get like Goku, I'm never going to. And then I grew up and was like, nobody cares. Not a single soul. It might be a little icing on the cake, but.
Speaking of Goku, did you ever stand in front of a mirror and think you could go Super Saiyan?
I tried. I
used to always see. I remember when I first got on MySpace or Twitter, they used to make fun of those kids all the time. Like, man, if they would have had cameras in my bathroom when my face was, and I already, if you have watched our show, you probably noticed, maybe less now that we said like this, but I get a huge vein on my forehead. So you can imagine me in there just red faced, waiting for my hair to start rising and get longer to turn gold. That's a weird concept. I think about that even with wrestling. I was avid, and I don't have the best older brothers who let me live in these fantasies, so they let me know it's fake, and I used to argue it. Like, you are tripping, they're getting cut. I don't care how fake you say it is, they're jumping from that high, that hurts. Then I watched wrestling recently, and when they throw them to the ropes and they hit the ropes and run back is the craziest thing to me now mentally. Because
crazier than the adults in the stadium who are watching it, rooting them, paying $15 for a beer, or are they just do they know it's fake and they're just enjoying the show?
Yeah, they enjoy the show. They enjoy the story of it. It's a live story, and that it makes sense of. You're going to a play that's always happening, and it's super competitive every day. That Stone Cold was just drinking those non-alcoholic beers, but sometimes alcoholic beers every day.
I wonder if you probably watched it longer than me. Do they go? And they don't televise it every day, and they do the same show 4 days a week, and then the 5th day they televise it, kind of like, comedy shows. Here's a behind-the-scenes secret: they do the same show 8 to 10 times a weekend. For years, and then they record one. Is it that type of thing? Because they couldn't have that much story. It's not that soap opera level story of.
Well, because technically it's not every day, right? They're doing it Mondays. Thursdays. I don't know if that's still the times, but that's when it used to be Raw. Mondays, Thursday was SmackDown. So Monday, Thursday, every single week, though, they were doing new shows. And I remember I went to a couple of Sacramento ones. It would come on like 30-minute delay. So by the time you got home, you could go home and watch the show you were just at to see if you were in the stands or anything, up there with binoculars. But
okay, for some reason I thought that they did more shows than were televised, but probably not the bigger guys.
Well, and then on Sundays, they do their pay-per-views. Yeah, I don't think so. And maybe you're
probably right.
But I think that's most of their traveling, because you'll see they go to like the normal spots, right? They'll go to Sacramento, then they'll be up in Portland, and then go to Seattle or something. So, dude,
I used to think stand-up. Speaking of things of a child. I used to think stand-up comedians walked on a stage and made all of that up as they went.
Just freestyle.
Up until I was probably in my 20s. And then I realized this is all hyper-reversed, and I don't really find it funny anymore.
I had an English teacher, I think in junior high. it might have been like Mr. Barry. He talked to us about how comedians are normally really, really, really good writers. And you talked about Chris Rock being a super intelligent writer, Jerry Seinfeld being. So I remember that's when I realized what it was, and it was in depth more than just dudes being funny. Because that's what, we are used to, is people just being funny from where we're from. So they would be a great stand up comedian. But no, it does take really being able to write a joke.
Nice really, it just takes being able to stand up in front of someone and really risk complete ridicule, utter and complete soul destroying. Can you imagine anything worse than standing in front of 50 to 100 people trying to lay down a joke to crickets? I can do it on here because it's just you. It's normal. Exactly. I don't feel the awkwardness of the crickets. I'm sure I say a bunch of not funny stuff every episode, but I don't feel it. But if there was a live audience, speaking of which, where's Shyla? I thought she was coming.
No, I've never said that was going to happen. That's something you were talking about. I don't even know if she's technically in town yet. She hasn't hit me yet, so we'll see. She's not on here.
That just reminded me of that.
So yeah, I don't know. I have no idea where she is. Sorry.
I forgot where we were going with that.
Stuff just.
Sorry, I just lost my track.
Oh, people freestyling and not freestyling.
Oh
yeah, go back to that. Sorry, giving just crickets.
Oh,
Could you imagine that? No, man. Rejection was a huge fear of mine. I'm getting better because I care very less what people think of me, but rejection was always, that's even in my dating life. I wasn't a risk taker, I was I know for a fact you've been waiting for me to ask you to be my girlfriend. I'll ask now, because I knew I couldn't handle it. And I am better. I read a book about rejection. That was the last book I read actually before this breathing book.
Yeah, I remember the moment in high school when I realized rejection didn't hurt. And there was a new girl who was cute, and I just walked straight up to her and I asked her out. She's like, I have a boyfriend. I said, okay, walked away, and I felt better. The worst. Swaggy.
You're better than me because I started thinking of lines again. Well, no, it was a little bit of humor. It was more, you rejected me. I'm going to say a line after that, I got a boyfriend. Well, there's a goalie in soccer. It doesn't mean you can't score. Just real corny stuff.
That was when you were in Stockton, huh?
That's
a Stockton thing to say.
Real dumb lines, man. But it was more of wanting to be humorous because it did feel uncomfortable. And that's what I read in that rejection book is humor does take away pain. It's a study they actually even did where they were testing the pain threshold and had people watch feel-good movies, sad movies, horror movies, and then funny movies. Actually, they were watching Family Guy and South Park scenes, and their pain threshold legit went up across the board. All the other things they watched, it stayed even keel. So it's factual. That's why a lot of people do that. They laugh through their pain because it's a real thing that actually does help. So, here we are doing that. Michael said, put that pen down. But the homie Melange's here. What's up? You remember Melange from junior high? My guy. Oh, and I think freshman year, he was at Foothill too. And after that, he could correct me.
I have the worst. Now that I'm back on Facebook, I'll look through friends. You'll log in, you'll see one post and recommended friends. And I mean, I love you guys. It's not an insult. It's all on me. It's just, they look familiar. I can't remember anybody. I couldn't remember.
It's
rough.
That's the worst part because people recognize me in the weirdest ways, man. I mean, I will be speed walking through Walmart and pass an aisle and someone, hey, Rich.
I've been with you at the mall and you got stopped 3 times probably.
It's I was drinking. I was working out at Foothill one time, probably 3 years after we graduated. I'm drinking at the water fountain. A car drives by in the stadium while I'm drinking at the water fountain, drives by, reverses, and was like, Rich, is that you?
On Hillsdale,
I
causing
was like,
accidents.
dude, what is happening right now? And so that's
You're the
just
man.
been a weird thing. And so
Go
that
work a chair.
does get me a little bit, is that people really, really recognize me. So it makes me feel worse that I don't even
Get your
recognize
back.
that I know you, let alone. Yeah, it feels terrible. So
But that's fair. I mean,
I do need, everyone keeps recommending that book, the David Goggins book, Can't Hurt Me.
yeah, I found out that I have that on Audible, and I listened to some of it.
Was that, I thought that was a podcast you were listening, or no, it was a David Goggins podcast. I remember. So
Oh, that was Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, with David Goggins. But we had a really good night one time, and I had to drive you home and then walk home from your house. But you had that podcast playing, and that
and I passed out.
Well, that podcast really is. It's so crazy how life works that way. It really made me realize about having tight hips. I bought a foam roller since then. I know probably 10 hip stretches and hip flexor stretches. I take my hip flexors so serious. So serious. And it's really from just that night driving you home, listening to that podcast. So that's pretty crazy. But I do want to read that. A couple people have recommended that book, and it's pretty good. So
Hey, try and pull it up. It says the live broadcast is expired. Are we still on?
Shows that we are with 7 people watching, still live. And Michaela, I was not cool. I just played sports, and so people knew me.
Yeah, you're still.
But I was
That's weird.
I was really
Turn it
over.
down. Let me share it real quick. RG, say something. Our producer's in studio, setting up his laptop, ready to fact check. How'd your meeting go? Are you allowed to talk about it on there?
Way better than I thought.
I told them I hadn't heard from you. I was worried.
I know, I was gonna text you.
Bro, I thought like when I opened the door, they were gonna just shotgun to the face.
I don't know why you put yourself in that position.
That was so
way
dumb.
better than I thought.
So you're gonna make some money?
Hell yeah.
That sounds so dumb.
I would never do that in my life.
Sometimes you gotta take risks.
Sorry, what's next? What's next on your list? Do you have anything?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I did have a couple things. Oh, I want to talk about that. That's another people were talking about books. Brandon, I will have to get you a list of books. He said top 5 book recommendations. There's a few. That's actually I have a few in my, or at least one in my backpack. This book.
The Secret of Selling Anything. Give me that. I want credit for this.
That book, that's one book. That's how good that book is. I cannot do this with any other book. I've tried. I actually even tried with Plato's The Republic. I tried to write. I cannot read PDFs for the life of me. When people say, just look it up on PDF, I cannot read full books that way. I read that full book that way because it's just not a sales book. It's a life book. That book really changed my life and my thinking. So that's a great book.
He was the 96 and 2000 Libertarian candidate for U.S. president.
Which I also didn't know when I read that book, so it makes even more sense.
But he's a beast. And like it says, a roadmap to success for the salesman who is not aggressive, who is not the smooth talker, who is not an extrovert.
Dude, it's not a win-lose thing. That's what I love about it. There's 2 profits in every sale.
That's the basis of capitalism, and we'll get to that later. Once you read this book, you will be a firm capitalist believer. I believe that. And it's not even about capitalism. That's a book you read when you're in a sales slump and you don't know how to change your mind or your attitude or what you're saying.
James, it's The Secret of Selling Anything by Harry Brown. Brown with an E. But so the other thing I want to talk about, so you mentioned that. I don't know if you did read it, but I know you said you had it or were going to read it. But the 5 love languages. Yeah, man, I'm talking to you.
Sorry, I'm trying to share
We're the
this,
one doing a show together,
post.
so I don't know. If
okay, here we go. I'm trying to share this post because
you're trying to still share the post 29 minutes in.
You know I'm not. We start talking. I don't want to be rude to you. I'm not tech savvy.
And then you were rude to me 29 minutes.
I have it in the next room, but I don't know if I believe in that. Tell me about it.
So, well, the reason I wanted to talk about it, it makes sense in the way that I think I mentioned this on the show before, the golden rule versus the platinum rule. So the golden rule being treat people how you want to be treated. The platinum rule is more about treating people how they want to be treated, which makes sense to me. I learned that even in high school about, not everyone, you can't yell at everyone. We know that even amongst this room, we can't all be talked to the same way. There's only 3 of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people will shut down if you yell. There's some people who might not talk to you if you yell. If I yell, he'll be all right. If you yell, he might not talk to you, right? So you just have to talk to people differently, which makes sense. No, I'm just saying you do have to talk to
Do
people.
you know the 5 love languages off the top of your head?
All right, I always forget one.
Producer.
So I got this.
I got it.
It's I actually have it on my phone too, but
The password.
it's so it's physical touch, acts of service, receiving gifts.
This all sounds like it's sex based. Is that the underlying tone of this thing?
No, it's just relationship. Yes, relationships. All right, so acts of service, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, and words of affirmation. Bam, all 5. So
try uppercase and lowercase. I don't know which one it is.
So you can take a quiz, you can do that type of thing. But I realized, and I've been seeing this, and the reason I wanted to talk about this is just to kind of maybe help educate. But I've been seeing that a lot of so-and-so's love language is this. So this is what his love language is, acts of service. So he does this for me. And that's not how it works. That's not how it's supposed to work, right? Yeah, they can show you what their love language is by how they love you, but that's how you're supposed to love them. Like, for instance, if I love acts of service, that would make sense that you do things for me because that's what my love language is.
So it's designed to make you understand how to treat other people, not to excuse how they treat you. Maybe.
Exactly. And that's what the book did a really good job about. And this is what I think I talked to you about if it wasn't you as someone else. I really loved the book because I read the whole thing and then you find out in the summary or the final chapter that he's a super faithful Christian man. And he said a few things throughout the book, but you wouldn't have really been able to tell. You did see that he was a marriage counselor, so you could see that throughout the book. But that's what I more liked about it is he gave examples of how he helped couples, but not only that, what they were going through. So you see a lot of that. People genuinely feeling like I'm loving the hell out of you because if I was you, then I would be pumped right now. I'm coming home. I'm giving you gifts left and right and all this stuff.
Is there a love language that's like, I mostly want to be left alone and leave you alone? Which one would that be?
It's probably one. I don't know. Gift giving. That's my gift. Is freedom. Maybe.
Yeah. No. That was a joke, but I was kind of thinking how and I haven't read the book, so I'm not criticizing him. A lot of people like it. How do you extrapolate out from real world application? Because there's not, my love language is gift giving, so I give my wife gifts every day. That's not a thing. Yeah. So that's like, what's the application? Like, that's the guy who makes breakfast every day. You know what I mean? Or
yeah, it can be that. It's just, and it doesn't have to be every day, right? It's just showing
so it's
them
like
that's
archetype.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's generally.
When they talk about it, and most people will have it for a long time, even kids with their family. He gives an example of the little kids whose love language is physical touch, and they start to feel unloved because when they get older, they get away, they get shy, right? They're a teenager now. I don't want you hugging me and kissing me, whether that's an older brother, mom, dad. But their love language is physical touch. So you'll see doing things like the headlock noogie is actually, they feel loved in that. And so I thought that was interesting. There's a lot of good examples, and I should have done a better job of bringing some of those examples.
I should have done a better job of reading the book.
But
I have it.
It is they did a really good job of breaking that down and examples of that, because when you do think, even I felt, if your love language is receiving gifts, that's a weird one to be your firm. But there are, like you said, just simple things that are versions of gift. And even some of them can cross. Like, you can give your time as a gift, right? If you don't have it, if you always have to do stuff and you decide, okay, I'm going to cancel for you, or I'm going to just blow something off or make time for you, that can also be a gift.
So is there like a horoscope application of it, in that givers should be matched with receivers type deal, or is that not even one of the things? It's just to understand your partner type thing?
Exactly, yeah. And in your relationships in general, and you'll see that you can literally feel like you're giving the most love and someone can feel like they're not being loved at all. So that's the premise I like because it did make sense to me. The way that you show love might not be the way they receive love. And a lot of times, when you're loving someone is the most important thing. You're not loving someone because you want them to know you love them. Most of the time you're loving them because they deserve that love, right? And if you want them to actually feel the love more than just tell you that, hey, you love me, that's cool, you want them to feel it, then it makes more sense that way. So
I'm probably the absolute, would you say top worst person?
I'd say top one.
what, loving people?
No, I mean, at giving any advice to people about relationships, about how to treat
anything.
There's a lot of things. We need to get a mic on you.
Seriously.
Wait, I can see your eyebrows going up. He's not talking about relationships right now.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, don't listen to shit he says.
Oh, man.
But, what was that? I got distracted by the look on his face. It was.
It's easier when he's behind you.
It was.
Don't worry,
we're talking about the
stuff.
love languages, applications, people matching up. So
You've been on it today. You are crushing today's show. I just want you to.
In what way? Just my phone ringing.
You trying to share it. You just are doing.
I'm sorry, dude. I got a lot. I'm not emotionally prepared for this, as you know.
All right.
What I was going to say, because I'm sorry, if everyone who's watching right now, rewind 30 seconds, and then this comment that I'm about to say will fit in perfect with where we were at.
Gotcha.
You ready?
Yep.
3, 2. I mean, but what is love? Like, we were talking about
you want
people,
the First Corinthians 13, 4-8 version?
Do you know that one?
Not the full thing. I do know that. Love is patient, love is kind.
I mean, what is we say, this is how I feel loved. This is how I make you feel loved.
Michael's so good. I was going to say that. Keep going. That your shirt is looking at Rich more than you are. I was going to say that too. Michael's so good for that. I should have said it. Missed it. Go ahead.
Am I not looking at you much?
So what is love? Love is what?
No, I'm asking. Just, Kelsey had mentioned that I like to ask philosophical, unprovable questions and hold you to your answer. So this is that question of the week. What is, did he talk about that? I feel loved when my part, like, what does that mean? What are we talking about?
It's definitely relative, right? I mean, yeah, love has to be relative. In that sense of you can feel love even in different ways. I could feel love from you, but expect more from Ryan, right? Or I could feel love from you, expect more from my mom or my brother. There's different types of love. So it's, in my opinion, it's relative. I think it's a feeling that you just have. That also brings me to the question of, do you believe that unconditional love is real? Outside of for your kids, I imagine that's the only way. I don't know, even then, if they try to kill you one night, so you love them unless they try to kill you, right? That's a condition.
You'll second check, you'll second check me on this, but I love my kids more than any, there's nothing even close.
So unconditional, right?
Nothing.
Yeah, and that's I remember when my brother had his first daughter, that was one thing he was like, you'll never know what love is unless you have kids. That's love.
My dad told me when I was a kid, or a teenager, I think it was when I started dating. And he pretty much was like, I never cared about anything until I had you. Then, loving you, I could figure out, this is, now I even know what it is.
I have a measuring stick now. I know what love is.
That's 100% my life. And that could be a genetic thing. I was raised by him, so it makes sense that I'm similar.
And I've heard that.
But that's 100%. I would say, my dad and my mom and my stepmom and, my brother, my stepdad, certain people, even, with even crazy stuff throughout life, after a certain period of time, I mean, I guess there's something they could do to make me stop loving them. But, after 20 years of someone being even a step parent, but if you would have asked me on year 1, I would have been like, they're not even on the list. So I don't know if you can work yourself into it. If there's multi factors to it, I want to make sure I don't leave anyone out. Even, some of my friends, but just family specifically can work overtime. You're forced to deal with these people.
Do you hear that xylophone work out
Yeah,
there?
there's a xylophone going on.
That's fire. The only X word that used to be up in those classes.
we were doing his flashcards the other day, and his Z came up, and he said xylophone, and I was like, "You should be right." I told him that, like, by all measurements and accounts, you should be right.
But
that's why I always say xylophone. Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, that's unconditional love, and you probably have unconditional. I mean, your dog. I guess I still love Remy. He tried to bite my kid. You know, I still feel something.
Well, no, and that's in a way, and I've even had to have conversations with Bree in these 3 weeks that we've had him because I do show him so much love, and it is instant, and it's a little bit of knowing that his survival is dependent on me, so I have to love him or he doesn't survive, and so I want to do my best. Mm-hmm. So I 100% understand that, and I can understand why you feel that way, just being an uncle to probably 25 kids now, counting your guys' kids. So
I think the question, because unconditional, so the difference is my kids are the only people who are just inherently got unconditional love. They never had to earn it.
Yeah. Where you're saying other people get
the other ones, now that I think about it, after years and years of them doing things for me, now they would have, like, they built up this stack. They'd have to burn that whole stack to the ground and then do something stupid. Oh, yeah. But the stack is so high, it's like, I can't imagine them doing anything that would do that.
You're better than me. I'll stop talking to my mom. She don't answer the phone 3 times. I have blocked my mom, though. And texting me. Well, this is why.
Doesn't she watch the show? You're just going to drop this on here?
Sometimes. This is why I was so mad. You guys know I'm honest on the show. I was so mad because 3 different times she had sent me somewhere for something and then didn't answer her phone when I called her about it. And
You're done.
But it wasn't just one time. It was multiple times in a row. And I just was like, yo. And it made me more mad because it was one of those things where if you've ever been around my mom or went to my mom's house, she's always on her phone playing some kind of game.
She was playing Candy Crush, like, I can't call her back.
It's on my timed round, Well, that's what her new thing she does is on her phone, which is crazy. We really need to make apps because it's crazy what people do with their free time. But she does color by numbers on her cell phone. So you just go and tap colors, and it's like, 16, and she goes around. And they're really nice pictures. But I even bought her a color by number book.
She wouldn't do the color by number book, though. It was just the app.
Just the app. And so she gets these new paintings, and she's super pumped about them. And she'll do those, but not answer your phone. And so I've been irate with her before because, hey, you're listed as one of my emergency contacts. I've even almost had to threaten her about that before. You cannot be my emergency contact if you're not going to answer. I'm just about to die. Who are you calling my mom? Just give up. Let's wrap it up. B, just Dave Chappelle. Yeah, exactly.
I just cross my arms up. Put me on that.
You need that funeral.
The dancing African guys.
Dude, seriously. So it can definitely be frustrating, but no, I 100%. My mom, I have unconditional love for. My brothers, even my brother in Vegas, who I love, and he probably watches these, but I love him, and he's done some crazy stuff. So there's unconditional love, but it's that unconditional love when they say in relationships to me, where I just feel like that's another one of those things. I think we're going to do a lot of that on this show. We're going to address a lot of reality to things that are just said, and I think that's one of them. I want that. I don't think that's real. I mean, that's one of those things you even say, and maybe in a marriage,
unconditional commitment.
Yeah, that's where I feel like a marriage should be. I think people stay true to that, like literally for better or for worse, for Richard or for poor. I swear I hear that every time. But seriously, I do feel like people take that commitment seriously.
People should? So for those who don't know, I'm a relatively religious guy. I try and, I read my Bible, I pray, I just want to preface that. But for the sake of conversation, for those who may be let down with what I'm about to say, do you think it should be that? I know we kind of joked about it last week, a 7-year contract, but the idea of marriage being an unconditional contract, do you think that's kind of a silly idea? Do you think it's only silly now? Do you think
I think it's silly now because you're not dying on a tombstone as so and so's wife, right? Like that's legit. And I told you I did my history stuff for my family, and that was legit. My great grandmothers at a time were so and so's wife. That's what was on your tombstone, not even your own name. But I don't know. I feel like it's so easy, especially now with the internet, to meet multiple people you like, right? But to have someone that you could go through. That's one of the funnest things about my relationship with Bree are the memories and the things we do. Right. And so to do that with just multiple people where you don't have that experience of a long time commitment, it's also why it's cheating to put us on the same team for games like Taboo. We've done so many things together that's easy to remember that one time we did this and it guess the thing. So but that I think that's a thing I've dealt with. So that's a thing I was honest with Bree about early in our relationship. I've always felt weird about marriage, especially not wanting kids. We've kind of, putting our business out there, changed course a little bit there, not full-fledged, but definitely changed course to wanting kids. And when we didn't, it just never made sense to me. And when I didn't want kids, it's like, really? To get married? Then I'm also a guy, which isn't the best mentally in terms of monogamy, typically. But that's, was something that I realized is, would you rather, have what you claim will be fun, which we've been single and know it never ends up being the fun that you remembered it being when you were single, and do that for however many years and then sacrifice being with a great woman forever. I think that's where I understand a little bit of both sides, but where if you're asking me my opinion on it, I do think you can go into a more contract.
I realize now that was a messed up question to ask you, and I apologize for that, putting you on the spot.
No, don't feel bad. It's something I think about all the time. I mean, that's not, I think the reason you asked me that question is because it's something I also will open and talk about. Obviously, you probably feel bad about asking about it live, but
yeah, that was
for me.
I forgot for a second.
For me, it is just one of those things where it is. It's I want to be real with myself. It's a fear of rejection, right? It's a fear of understanding I was a totally different person 5 years ago. We've been together going on 7 years. And even 5 years ago, I was a different person. And so 10 years ago, I was a different person. And when you commit to someone, especially at our age, you're going to be with someone potentially another 30, 40, 50 years. And so you're kind of gambling on yourself and the other person to not be different in a negative way, right? And so that's what's always scared me is wasting time. I'm always the worst talking to my friends after breakups because, I ask some of those questions that I think about for myself.
Bro, this will be you like, bro, me and my girl broke up. This will be Rich like, do you feel bad that you wasted all of your life in the past 5 years?
To be fair, I didn't know they just broke up. But
you could be 24 hours from a breakup. Are you worried you're going to be lonely for the rest of your life? Like, yes, I am.
First of all, it's not like that.
Someone counted. I know I just dropped a BRUH. Someone mark it if I did.
Michael said 3.
I believe it.
He said, "Is that like 3?" So maybe it's 2.
We'll just say 3.
But yeah, man, but even then, I guess no, because even when you get into it, is a marriage really lasting through cheating? That's what I always go to. I'm not even going to go as extreme as I normally go, which is like, what if he murders your brother, right? Not going that far, which is obviously inexcusable, but cheating, or I mean,
because I see you didn't phrase
that's a
it,
condition.
but that's a condition, right? Just to circle all the way back. Unconditional love, if I become a crack addict and I spend all of our money and we lose our house, that's a condition.
If I'm starting
if my son started smoking crack, I would still love him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
you would try to work it out.
Everyone else, it's like how much of you don't think about it, but this person done a lot for me, or like, but eventually they burn through all of those, and it's all right. Maybe I even still love you, but you get no more chances. So vamoose.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
How much time are we at? We've been talking about love a
50
lot.
minutes. Because it's all about love, even though you don't know what love is. Don't forget to write those at
I
least
want
2
to know
tallies
what
down.
love is.
Write them tallies, man.
He's keeping track.
Oh, you got them? My bad.
I want you to show
Oh, I also wrote
me.
this down.
Huh?
Bro or bro, both of you guys?
Either
I'm
one.
doing, yeah, either of them.
Yeah, we're both doing
We're
that.
not hitting you for likes today?
No,
not, if
we're
we
in-
guided all of them, I have to warm up. I would be
yeah,
broke
for
by
sure,
now.
for sure. So I also
Is there
wrote,
any
I thought this
while
one-
you're on that, let me just view these real
okay,
quick.
I thought this would be funny. You know, we
Actually,
got
no.
we got a bunch of warnings from elders about the internet and like scams. You know, don't believe everything you read. For them to end up being the worst, like they get
I think
scammed all
we're
the time.
All the worst.
Well, we are, but old people are they're still getting hit by those. If you want to get your daughter out of jail, you need to send us
That just happened
$100
to somebody.
in iTunes gift cards. Which
Grandma, it's me. I'm stuck in Mexico.
yeah,
No, it's spring break. No, I need $1,000. But we all, I mean, I was just thinking about that the other day, that now it used to be a joke. Oh, I saw it on the internet. It must be true. That's a real mode of thought. And again, this is not Republican or Democrat. A meme, a tweet, a GIF, a Vine, a TikTok. You're getting a flash information.
oh, a fleet now.
Is that a new thing?
Yeah, Twitter has Twitter stories now. They're called fleets.
Oh, God.
I'm kind of sick of
random
seeing
Twitter
people's-
knowledge. I didn't even update my Twitter yet because I don't want it. And
actually,
they have
that's a lie.
pornographic stuff on Twitter, so
What?
I'm not
That's why
here
I'm
for
not
that
on there, bro.
malarkey.
Twitter's not about the Lord's work at all. They're
It's
doing
not.
whatever they want.
It's not about that.
I don't partake. I do like I like Instagram stories most of the time because it is cool to see 5 or 6 seconds of someone. You know, like that's the perfect amount.
just terribly lip syncing songs left and right. You don't know those words.
But then
It
some
is
people
clear you
really
don't know
will
those
trick
words.
you and line up 40. And it's just
Dude,
and then they purposefully put a poll where they know you're clicking. Have you done those? You're clicking through their stuff, and then you click a poll. Am I cute? And they put the yes right where they know you click on the right side of the page. You hit the yes.
no.
Then you just
When
I'm
you
committed
watch your
now.
homie's one story and you go to the next person and you see these like periods for how long their story is,
No,
I'm gonna exit out.
I'll
of this.
unfollow you for that. You can
On to
get
the
maybe
next.
2 or 3 or 4. Don't go much further than that.
You're not down for 24 hours and they have 69 stories.
Luckily, no. To answer your question, no. Unless you have a puppy in there, I follow some puppy pages, and I just wish they would post more. I really do.
I know I asked Bree the other day. So yeah, now we just are those people where you have a bunch of pictures in our phone of our puppy, and I don't even have that many. I was like, "How many do you have?" She was like, "I don't even have that many. 15."
Did you ever
She
think?
took a new picture, counted them things, had 30 of them.
Did you ever think you before you had a puppy?
Dang it! Was that me or Julian?
Yeah, you got to say who it was so we can mark it down. It was probably me. I feel
He
like
said
I've
it
been a
neither.
little loose.
Good. You need some more wine in here.
So when I was a youngster at 22, 23, or one for me, I used to think I'll never be that person who talks about my kid all the time. I'll never be that. They don't have nothing interesting to say. They just want to talk about their kid all the time. Did you ever feel? You ever feel that way?
Depending on
Here we
who
go
it
with the
is.
kid stories. Now I have
They
to
have
be
interesting ones,
mindful
I'm
about it because I feel like now I'm that guy. Like I want to show
Well,
everyone.
not really.
My
I
kids.
told you that's the thing that I've had for, I wouldn't say all of my adult life, but at least for the last, 6-7 years. I love hearing people talk about their passion. So if your kids are your passion, let's hear it. Tell me some stories. What's up? But they better be
Luckily-
interesting and be a good storyteller.
That's one of my few talents is I'm naturally interested if someone is interested in something.
Yeah,
It's usually not even a fake. If someone is actually interested in something, I get really drawn. Like, I want to know. This person loves this thing. I have to know that. And that's how I ended up playing every different sport in high school.
That's
Like,
what
it's always been
in
my
that failure
nature.
book. That was a quote I ended up writing down. That if you can pique someone's interest, the chance they say yes is substantially higher. And it's even if it's a dumb. It's just if you pique their interest. Hey, would you mind letting me kick this soccer ball off your bat?
Or
That's kind of weird. All right,
this guy, or how does it go? Doctors hate this guy. You piqued my interest. I got to click. Rub this on your feet to cure diabetes. It's worth a shot. Like, they just hijack.
I know it's not. That's the worst. Are those ones that are on the side and the whatever the picture.
The weirdest picture.
Where are these 14 child actresses that look hot now? The one.
Richard, can I click fast enough?
The one picture. No, the one that makes me laugh all the time is the picture that's there. Is it even in the article?
Yeah, it's like some weird stock photo.
Hold on. Where's the girl from Fresh Prince? You said she was there. But I just use that as an example because those are always the crazy ones there. But I click on those to see what I was. And they always do it where it's not one page. It's always you have to next page and one, like,
pop-ups.
It's 3 slideshows for one person and it's a 27-person list. I'm not doing it.
No, those are always fraudulent. Even if I go to a real legitimate website and it does that and there's not a view all button where you can put them all on one page, I'm out. I'm immediately out. I don't have time for that.
There's a page. This is kind of bringing two subjects into one. There's a page on Twitter that does that. So if you're reading a thread, you could say just, hey, can you unravel this? And they'll put it in one post so you could just read through it. That's pretty cool. I don't know why you chose that's going to be like your niche in Twitter. I doubt you get paid for that.
It's probably hard to find a niche on Twitter. Too many people talking. I've never. I need to make one. Maybe.
I don't know. There's a guy who he is like Legion Hoops, and he does things where he just I feel like follows a couple big name basketball guys who post things like Shams and Wojan, and he like just follows them. And when they post stuff, he'll post breaking news and write it a little bit differently. And he's one of the top basketball news guys. So I just thought if I did that in a real way. Basketball news the way you really want to hear it. Can you believe this dude? Speaking of which, this dude, Gordon Hayward, his contract for next year was like $34 million, and he opted out of his 1 year. And if he got 15, I would be shocked. Take the money.
Take the money and run. Take the money and run. You want to do our homework? We're at about an hour, right? Over.
No, 57. What was the homework?
Do you remember the homework?
No.
Does anyone in the comments?
Right when you said homework, everyone.
Remember what I said last time?
What? Hey.
Oh, I actually do have. It's not a quote, but it was something I thought of today, so I'll be ready. 3 to 4, Julian. Let's go with 4, Julian.
Yeah, we'll go with 4.
Let's go with 5.
So, our homework was what is the fundamental role of government to you. There's no right answer. This isn't the quiz that dictates whether you get to vote in 2024.
Yeah, why are you? I
just
feel
a
like
conversation
you're
starter.
more at an hour. So, but I feel like you're more educated. Like you're more enlightened.
No, this is a philosophy. So this is why you need time to think about it.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Because,
I didn't. So.
Well, I gave you 3 days, so you chose not to.
That's fair. When you said homework, you messed me up. I'm sorry. I dropped out of school.
And this is what I want to clarify. Michael sent me a great, very long message. I read every word of it, and it was thought-provoking, very in-depth. I'll email it to you.
About the homework?
About our homework. And I appreciate his thoughtfulness. But I want to be specific. We're scaling back the U.S. government. Pretend, you live in a tribe. Pretend you live in a cave. Pretend you're at the very beginning or let's even pretend you have technology, but there is no government.
Mm-hmm.
What's the reason you develop a government? What's the fundamental reason a group of men come together and all decide to give power to another person or another group of people? And there's no wrong answers. I just think this is a question that
It's to govern, right? So it'd be to make rules in a way. And in our case, right, they pass down power to enforce those rules. But let's just say they enforce those rules. So they would make rules, they would enforce rules.
Bro, if you don't get, dang it, there's another one. Check it again. I caught that one. He was rubbing his knee on my knee. That doesn't count.
Too bad.
But yeah, they would have to play. For instance, they would have to play the role of the elders, right? If you came from being in a tribe, you have elders who decide what's right and wrong in a way based on what the collective of.
But the elders would be a governing. I mean, that's a governing body.
Exactly. So that's what the government. They're governing.
Whether it's a.
But what would if you were in a tribe? What is their role?
Very philosophical question. If you were in a complete and not the academic version of anarchy, true anarchy, no government at all. You're in a tribe. You take what you can. People trying. Under what circumstance would you, or when you look to government, or finally a bunch of you and a bunch of other goombas come together and try and, we need someone
make an alliance like Big Brother.
Yeah. So what are you? Yeah. What's the fundamental role? And again, I have an answer that I'll tell you guys in a minute. But mine's very simple and concise. Because I'm not talking about the American government. I'm talking about the idea of a people that we give power to.
I think they take on the role of leaders based on what the collective believes. So I'm using the tribe analogy when I think of this. In a tribe, you have elders who are governing, but it's going to be based on what the tribe thinks right and wrong, right? So we believe that killing is wrong. You can't kill. If you do kill, here are the rules based on that. I think the governing body will enact that, and it also gives you a leadership. Even in prison, they do this, right? They have representatives in prison from each of these different people, whether you're the regular white guys to right, like you have that. So I think that's more of what it is they keep things organized based on what the people believe, and that sometimes is in a democracy where it's going to be the majority, and so maybe not 51 to 49, but they're going to make decisions based on the good of the people and enforce those. So I don't know if that's quite answering the question.
I hope if you're watching this, you leave a comment and let me know what you think. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm not going to call anyone stupid.
Are you finally going to say yours? Because you're very prepped for this. So what's your...
I'm going to say part of mine. And it's not even... I read this in a...
You are robbing...
No. I didn't even read this. I watched this.
Okay.
I saw it on a video. But it rang true to me. His is you, and this is my fault. This is not your fault. You went really back to the tribes, and I painted that picture. You filled it in. I drew the lines, and you're right. I'm not
using our comp, like where we are.
So he was a little bit in the middle, maybe post, but his opinion, and one that I'm adopting, and I think it's what I've kind of been trying to get at, is that the purpose of government is to guarantee markets, as in like trade. Like that's, if you boil it down, and here's the explanation. It seems superficial, but if I go to a market and a bigger, stronger guy takes my stuff, I don't go to the market, right? Mm-hmm. He takes my wife. I'm not playing. You don't get my stuff anymore, right? Mm-hmm. And I just really like that, just how concise it, like, if you had an organization like the government, and their job is to just make sure that no one uses force against you and you don't use force against anyone else, as a means to guarantee safe trade, market, travel, because market isn't just selling, right? Mm-hmm. Transportation, distribution, etc. In a way, that's the base of the rest of if there's no agriculture, distribution, sales, etc., everything else falls apart. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's the only purpose, but it's been on my mind for a couple of weeks that's a very concise thing, that when maybe
Does that so that belief and your knowledge of the Constitution, do those two things line up? Did our Constitution design the government based on your belief of what
No,
the
so
government
that's
should
what
do?
that's why I'm being specific. I'm not saying I believe. That's we're getting into philosophical
Oh, yeah,
worlds.
yeah, yeah.
I want that's why I wanted
Yeah.
to be flowery with all of it. Now, the United States government, right? Although they do that, they make sure we don't use force against each other, we don't coerce each other, we don't do all of these things. They've also taken it to another level to guarantee other rights and which I agree with. So to him, and he'd probably be qualified as a libertarian, I would say. He would, he may not fully accept the United States Constitution. He may say it's the best, but in his ideal world, it would be different. So yeah, I don't know. I forgot your question.
You answered it. That was my question. If you believe if that's your belief of what government is, do you feel like that lines up?
So
with
yeah, and I should have been more specific last time when I don't have my own purpose thoughts of the United States.
You would be a retweeting guy on Twitter. That's what it'd be. Like, I don't have my own thoughts, but this guy said something that I agreed with, so I'm just gonna say I agree with that. But also, when you ask me another question that takes it further, I don't fully agree with that.
No, because I did a poor job.
Well, you explained. Well, that's why I was asking, is that you do feel like that's the job of the government. You also can admit that the government. But the reason I asked you, if people don't know, you are a huge fan of the Constitution. Number 2 to the Bible. Love it. That's why I'm more. I read it all the time. Not that I'm not a fan of the. I mean, like, you are obsessed with the Constitution. So is what people would label it.
I did a bad job last Monday of painting the picture of what I was trying to. Because really, the question is, why all those years ago did we come up with the idea that let's pretend we're the 2 baddest dudes in our village. We can take, steal, rape, pillage, whatever we want. We don't have to hunt. We don't have to work. We'll take the peasant stuff. Yeah. But somehow they decided it's worth it that we'll let the elders or the commune or the tribune, the list goes on. Across almost all societies, across every civilizations, they always allowed, for the most part, a separate, not the strongest guy to ride. Wouldn't that be? If I'm the strongest guy, why do I let this old man tell me what to do? I can easily take him out and impose my will on things, which has happened. But if you think about the widespread, government, not the United States government, it was an interesting thought. And then, I had a more interesting thought than that guy did, but that was a good answer, so I applied it. So to answer your question,
thank you.
I hope that works for you. So that's just been on my mind. Like, why, how did we find ourselves here? Why did our ancestors say, we'll? And I think your answer is as good or better as his was. I just found his to be so concise.
That's what I do feel like I could have a way better.
It scales out to everything.
I should have asked you these last couple of days what homework was, because I feel like I could have had a better answer. I do feel like that's a good start.
Because let me rephrase it. Their job is to make sure as many people as possible play the game. That's a better way than to say guaranteeing markets. The government's job is to make sure as many people as possible choose to play the game. Mm-hmm. Partially through what you said, partially through what this guy said, partially as I talk myself through it. I don't. I'm the worst. I could read a book and tomorrow I won't remember who wrote it.
I feel you there. I actually put a book in my carts today about like the history. It's another book like Sapiens, where it's the history of, and he maps it out, and based on that, what he thinks the future would be. Age of Discord by Peter Turchin. Looked like it might be good. Kind of breaks down history.
Send it to me, because we need to start reading the same book, and we need to vow to each other we'll read 30 minutes a day or something, or we'll download the Audible and listen to it, and then we'll have a common thing. What's the time, boys?
We're at 1:09.
That was only 12 minutes.
Yeah, the homework
That's
part.
when you know the alcohol hits you, when time is warped. I feel like I was just talking for an hour.
You were.
What else do I have? I was going to talk about texting.
What about
and
our
driving, but
commenters?
I'll skip that.
So I would like to get our commenters to give us something to talk. To give us something to talk about next week. Excuse me. Should we decide to do a Thanksgiving episode?
What?
Oh yeah, we're not even going to be able to do a show.
Not on Thursday.
So,
I 100% can't.
no,
So, but I would love
I'll
to
be
get
pretty
the people
faded
who
by
are
then.
watching, if you could shoot us a comment with questions or something you would like to get our take on, whether it be government-based, philosophy-based, love-based, relationship-based. It'll at least be funny. Business-based. What else do we know anything about?
I don't know anything about anything. So.
Farming-based, tractor-based,
Rabbits.
cowboy-based.
Rabbits.
I learned a lot about rabbits this week. We'd love to hear, because we obviously will get together and talk no matter what, but we would like to say stuff that's probably applicable to your guys' lives, with our perspective and experience. What do you think, Richard? And thank you for letting me talk so much.
I
think you were trying to let me say the BRUH. So this is the first time you haven't cut me off.
I told you I've been working on it, I'm going to try to work on it. So it does help to be thinking about not saying those words, but also that is something I wanted to work on. I've told you that multiple shows, cutting you off, letting you say stuff, even though
ramble.
You usually leave it to me. No, keep going, say a bunch of stuff. Otherwise, we're gonna have a dull show. Come on, but you were killing it.
No,
well,
I was
after the
just
beginning,
rambling.
once you stopped paying attention to your phone and got into the show, you started crushing it. So
no, you crushed
I
it.
appreciate the philosophical stuff, but that one, I guess a philosophical quote I wrote down, but it's not really a quote because I just thought of this when I was reading something.
Is this going to count as your quote for the day?
No, because it's not really a quote, and
Okay.
It's something I just thought, and I guess it's more of a question anyway. Not even I thought it is. It ends with a question mark. So where do we go when proof is no longer a solution?
Are you asking me, or is this just a philosophical
I
thing?
just thought about that, in the sense of, reading comments. We talked about that last week. You just read comments and hypocritical things, whether it's political or not. In sports, is the same way. I read crazy stuff. Celtics, Lakers beefs and Yankees, Red Sox beefs, whatever it may be. And you just see you see people just openly say random things that you can identify as false pretty quickly. And when people prove them wrong, especially when it's something on Twitter, it just doesn't even matter. And so I thought of that is, when proof means nothing, when factual proof means nothing, where do we even go? Is there even
Here's the thing.
anything?
If we're going to have a quick conversation about this before this conversation turns into 2 hours, I wonder if this is with about 30 seconds of thought, but I feel like everyone believes proof. No one believes the messenger. There's no trusted messenger. Like if you wanted stats, you would go to ESPN for the NBA. Let's pretend.
Mm-hmm. That's not, yeah.
Well, who would you? I don't. I'm just making it up. So
I go to Basketball Reference. Yeah, Basketball Reference. They got detailed stats. Yeah.
If that was the gold standard, and you could trust them, they have no incentive to lie. They don't have to sell jerseys. They have nothing. These people do it, and they've been flawless. People would probably all accept it. I don't think it's the facts that are the problem necessarily. I think we've lost credibility in the messengers that deliver facts. I don't know if that changes the question really, but I feel like it's a hair that's worth splitting.
Yeah, you think it's more based on that?
Because if there was someone if it wasn't, if I say something, someone will be like, you watch Fox. If someone else says something, they'll say, you watch CNN. It immediately dismisses the fact. The fact doesn't even need to be said.
Well, that's what I mean. So then I guess you can't answer that part, which you did, right? You said people believe. But so I guess in this example, you need to say people won't ever even get to that proof. People believe proof, but they're not listening to proof because when that messenger came, the proof was ignored.
Yeah.
The problem is when you see people read it and they hit you with a but, which I guess they possibly didn't read it.
Yeah.
But when they provide a yeah, but to just factual things, especially when it's you just openly said something outlandish.
Well, yeah.
And so you could send them just 9 articles instantly of how that's false. And that's why I really hate Twitter. And I mean, they do it on Facebook too, right? They're in this heated battle. They're saying all this crazy stuff. And once you trump them, once you hit them with some really good stuff, do you think he ruined that word for life now? When you trump them, what do you mean trump them? The definition, right? That word. But yeah, when you trump them with facts, they just disappear. And that has always bothered me. It's your right to do that, but you need to own up to being wrong right there when you know, and especially you know about this. When it's in your case, when you just spent 9 hours arguing with someone,
Yeah.
the least they can do is acknowledge when it got to the point where it was over. And I feel like that's a lot of it, is you can prove a lot of things. And it just, that to me is probably one of the most troubling things I see on the internet, where facts don't even change.
Well, because it's
things.
just, that is one of the more troubling factors, because there's such an overwhelming amount that I can find a scientist. In fact, in the past week, I found a scientist who can prove, if you believe him, that the Big Bang does not exist. He's been published, all of this stuff. I'm not saying that's my opinion or not, but I could provide that as a source, and someone could say that's not a source. So
does it feel weird that, you being Christian, does it feel weird that people openly believe the Big Bang but question God?
That's literally a whole nother podcast.
Okay.
I feel this is what I'll tell you this for the few people who are still hanging with us after an hour and 15. It boggles my mind that people, in fact, it's in vogue to say they believe in the simulation theory, but God is completely out of the question.
Yeah,
blows my mind.
They will even say there's one entity that runs the simulation, which is crazier to me. They will openly describe God.
I don't know if the guy who came up with that theorem is an atheist. I don't remember. But pretty much he came to fame for mathematically proving it's the most likely situation we're in a simulation.
Mm-hmm.
If we're in a simulation, God would be the programmer. That's the guy who wrote the rules of the game. Completely unacceptable. But you could get a PhD writing the simulation theory. That boggles my mind more than the Big Bang. The Big Bang, although I personally have my questions, and this guy kind of answers some of them about how it doesn't make sense, but we're getting on a rabbit trail.
Well, I told you I need to buy that book. I was going to buy a book the last time I was in Barnes & Noble, and it was about that, how he believes that, especially New Earth creationism, Christianity, lines up perfectly with what they describe evolution to be. So it was
I'm not an
pretty
apologist.
interesting.
They call those guys apologists. I'm not one of those either. But that's a great question for another time. We're already too late.
For sure. No, and they're talking about this. This is something I talked about Kenny and Michael a few shows ago, is how people tie their opinions and the things they say, even if they don't know too much about it, to the person they are. Because that's who we are now, right? We're a generation where people tell you who they are, they don't show you. And so those words and everything they say, whether they know about them or not, they tie to their self-worth. And so they feel it as a personal attack when you tell them that they're wrong, or when you provide facts that they're wrong. It's probably even more heart-wrenching. So makes sense. But
it's so easy when you've had a media that sold themselves out. It doesn't matter if you're talking Fox or CNN or whoever else. The bombshell piece of news they've sold themselves out, all of them, for money. Mm-hmm. There's no is there a reputable source? I don't think so. So there is no one we can look to for truth. So we're all scrambling trying to find it. That's why the Renaissance guys thought reason was so powerful. Even without facts, we can frame a conversation that guides us towards the truth. Based on just simple, if you read through their theorems, it's always very simple. Would you believe that this table is hard? You accept that. Okay. If this table is hard, that leads me to the next idea, that maybe there's something that creates this table that doesn't create this air. Would you accept it? And then just, for example, that would go on and on and on. And then eventually it would say, this is a table made out of small particles crammed together with some kind of adhesive. But we don't have the time or the energy or anything to do that now. It would take hours and hours and hours to walk someone through that, which if you have the Republic, is that the one you'll see he does it, chapters on these things. But now you have 1 second, give me your source, summarize it, and I'll tell you if I agree or disagree, regardless. I don't know if that answers your question. You should probably give this money away.
You are crushing the.
No,
I don't know if that answered your question.
That's
They said something that's so. Kenny and Michael are talking about the God conversation. Saying there is no God doesn't mean that there's no creator. Michael saying there's an important distinction between God and the concept of a higher power. Do you agree with both of those things? Saying there is no God doesn't mean there's no creator.
Well, it would depend if you're talking to an agnostic or an atheist. I think an atheist would 100% say. And so an atheist is a follower of a specific religion with a specific set of rules. There's an atheism.
Yeah.
That's a thing. There's a Wikipedia page. You have 10.
Which is a religion about being anti-religious.
So they would tell you.
That's my favorite.
What?
That's my favorite thing about
There's a
atheism.
Wikipedia page.
No, I'm just saying. Like, I want to clarify. It's not just a word. It's a thing. Now, to answer your question, which I'm going to try and do, and then say that I don't know if I can or not. That's a question of linguistics. If you could say, I believe in a creator, but I don't believe in the Judeo-Christian God, the Abrahamic God, referencing Islam, or the etc. But if someone comes to me and says they don't believe in God, I don't feel like it's an unreasonable assumption to say they believe in no creator.
Yeah.
Because almost all of us, if I ask a Muslim, they'll say that, we all agree when we say God what we're talking about. Doesn't mean it's the guy who showed up in the bush. We're talking about the guy, right? So that's another big question I'm trying to answer in 60 seconds. What are they saying?
No, they're basically saying the same thing. That's what Kenny said. I don't believe in the religious version of God, but I am open to a higher power, creator, or simulation theory. And that's what, so you do believe in a God.
So if you believe in simulation theory,
what people view as a God, right? Like what you just said is perfect. There's different religions. They all have their own God. Some religions have multiple gods, right? So you're saying
religions, I'll say.
So you're saying you do believe
you
do believe in a God. You're just not believing in what you view as the stereotypical God.
Which is, in a way, it's fair because just like it's a useful use of their time. Most likely, I'm talking to a Christian who believes in Judeo-Christian God. So the right answer would be, the quick answer: I don't believe in your God. Maybe it would be more specific than saying I don't believe in a God or any God, or I don't believe in the Bible, which is probably what they're really trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't believe but it doesn't rule out the fact that the simulation theory is by nature unprovable. You're in such a complex simulation that you wouldn't know it anyway. By definition, you could never prove it exists or doesn't.
Also,
exist.
from what I've read about the simulation theory, like where they stop is what it's for. Like what is there's theories on that, but that's most of them stop on what is the reason for the simulation.
Well, what's the reason for any simulation?
What's usually to see what happens, right? To do better in the future or to test something. So that's what, from my understanding of the simulation, or most people feel, and that's what I guess is what the difference is, because the simulation theory I read was more about in the future on the past. And so this is a past humanity. But if you look at other theories where it's like an alien type, trying to see what Homo sapiens being entered into Neanderthals would come out to be. There's some things like that I feel like is a little interesting. I even think dogs are somewhat alien, so they're weird in the simulation aspect. They're weird, man. I don't know. I
want to just grab one thing you said because you're talking about the future and the past. If you read through the Bible, which most people have a lot of things to say they've never read it, there's a recurring theme, especially once you've read it a couple times, of in the future but not yet. Like if you read through prophets like Isaiah, Revelation, the major prophetic eschatological books. The idea this is going to happen, like it's happening in the past, but it's happening in the future, or it's happening
like dark.
It's like dark. It's a lot of time travel type, but like it's already happened, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
This is happening, but it's not to you. Like this is happening in a maybe outside of time. So I wanted.
Is there any opening for the multiverse and multiple dimensions in the Bible? Is that just open?
I won't pretend to be an expert on Revelation. I don't think the multiverse specifically, but simulation theory probably lines up pretty well. I mean, you're on Earth, you're trying to pass a test. When you die, you get pulled out of the test, and you get to see the real world. It's literally a It's literally a simulation. Then you get to be with God, and you know the truth and all of this stuff, and all of your questions will be answered. What does that sound like?
Yeah, like the Matrix, like a video game, like Sims.
But it's funny because it ties in, and I don't want to run over like an hour and a half. Where we
We're
are.
at 125. No, we're at 125.
All right, we got to give some money away.
All right. Yeah, what's your question?
Someone-
You got to give.
You gotta give
You
$50.
told the question. How many has it been?
5.
All right. I want to make sure we do this before Michael logs off since he's been commenting the whole time.
I heard I gotta make a call.
Ask a question.
About what?
Whatever.
Where do you come off?
I got it. First one to name the colors of the Olympic rings in the comments.
All 5?
Gets
They're
one.
only competing for like $4. That's a little hard.
So what? It's first one. They get $5 donated to what? Their charity?
Yeah.
So what?
Oh, I thought it was like $50.
No, it's only $1 per one. When we get to like, it's gonna be crazy. I don't even want to know. I'm about to just bring ones for that show, so I could just put them in a jar each time. That I'm probably not going to talk that whole podcast. But other than that, any parting words, any quotes?
Well, what's the question? Because we got to give. Is that the question?
Yeah, that's the question.
How many colors is there? 5?
5, yeah.
5 colors. Is that it?
Black, yellow, red, green, orange. I don't know if those are really colors.
Well, look at.
I didn't say I have the answer.
All right, producer, look it up. Someone's about to get some money. Poor Michael. He watched this whole episode an hour and a half. And then the question.
Yeah, blue, black, red, yellow.
Yeah, that's not right. Oh, yeah, we can't.
Well, don't say it. God dang it.
If you already got the winner.
You need to look. But he wasn't right.
He wasn't?
Mm-mm.
Oh. Sorry. You can't even
That's what Michael said. I'm not even going to Google that.
I feel bad.
I was trying to think of something off the top of my head.
That was a good question. I was thinking something more like guess Julian's favorite number, but you're missing a number. Blue, black, red, yellow. There's 5 of those bad boys.
All right, what was Terrence's?
I feel like his was probably right.
Yellow, red, green, blue. Does he have orange too?
Yeah. Is that it?
No. What's Kenny's?
Black, yellow, red, green, blue.
Yeah, Kenny.
He Googled it. Black, yellow, red, green, blue. Is that the first one we got? Black, yellow, red, green, blue.
Congratulations, you have $5 for your freaking.
You know what? Since I'm feeling a little tipsy.
Off a box one?
Off a little Franzia.
Okay.
We will do. I'll do this. Not that I'm Mr. Generous, but I'll do $10 to whatever Kenny picks and $10 to whatever Michael picks. Is that fair?
Why Michael?
Because he's been the one keeping track of everything the whole time.
You're one of those teachers.
Well, I mean,
just say you like Michael, bro.
Billy's
It's all
the
right.
winner.
Oh,
Timmy's the winner.
$1 because we didn't end the show.
what? Oh, you
I
said
just
it?
yeah.
I feel like no one kept a very good track. So Kenny, let us know, and Michael, when I said 10, I'm giving the Biden charity 10 cents.
10
10 doll hairs.
Damn, did you say Biden charity?
But yeah, so what you have any good words of wisdom for the people?
First of all, if you can, leave us a comment, something you're interested in, something you want to talk about, some kind of content, something to guide us with what you would like to see more of. Second of all, let us know if you would watch an episode next week. If so, what day?
Third of all, like, comment, share.
Third, if you look in this area, there will be a like, comment.
there will not be.
There's a subscribe box.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's That's it. We've been an hour and a half.
You got to do an episode next week and be like, what are you thankful for? That's one of the questions.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do a Thanksgiving episode. I was kind of thinking we do a 10th episode on Thanksgiving, take 2 weeks off.
Wait, on Thanksgiving?
No, Thanksgiving week. I'm sorry. Or we can do it on Thanksgiving. You guys can watch it instead of football with your family. Is that okay? I'm just kidding. No one should do that.
A Thanksgiving feast.
We should do it.
Your whole family of 10 people, because it can't be more than that, according to Gavin Newsom, who goes to parties with 50 people. So you and your 10 family members should watch the show together.
Everyone come together, especially if you're a Nielsen family, so we can get those ratings up a little bit, and let us know. If what I was going to say, do one more episode, take 2 weeks off, buy a mic.
Mm-hmm.
Either take that spare bedroom and put some blankets on the wall so there's not echoes and stuff.
Or you can laugh freely.
Or we do it at his house. He's been teasing us with it. He's got lighting and everything. But anyway, everyone's got things to do. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Comment the once and for all who I'm donating this $20 to. I'll do it on, if you can send me a Facebook link, I guess, so there's proof.
I think you should donate to Biden.
That's what he's saying.
No, he has a couple. He just put a couple here.
All right. Any parting words?
None for me. None for me. Just thanks for viewing as always. And yeah, we'll see you next week, probably around the Tuesday mark.
I got something to say.
Probably Tuesday.
Like, comment, subscribe.
I already said it.
Yeah.
If you could share it, or they already commented.
Comment some more.
Let your friends watch. And I'm sorry we dragged on. We love you guys.
Subscribe.